Lenten season, and we've been talking about making this the 40 days of love, right? We've been talking about the love languages. How many of you went home and took the test last week? Anybody? Did y'all take something? Any surprises? Were you surprised at the outcome at all? No? Those of you who took it? Those of you who threw it away? I mean, you know, right? It happens. It happens. Anyway, today we've talked in the past couple of weeks. We've talked about words of affirmation, and we talked about last week quality time, being present when we're what? Present, right? When we're around somebody, we need to make sure that we're giving them our attention. That's important to somebody whose love language is quality time. And today we're going to be talking about receiving gifts. Receiving gifts. And I can tell you right off the bat, this is not my love language. Now, I like to receive gifts. Don't get me wrong. But it's not my love language. It's not how my priorities. As a matter of fact, me and Pam, neither one of us. That's not our thing, which is good. So we're a good match. So when we don't give each other a gift, it doesn't really matter. But we enjoy, you know, it doesn't mean that somebody doesn't enjoy receiving gifts just because it's not their love language. But to those people who it is their love language, it's important that we can speak love into their heart by recognizing that there's more to receiving gifts than just receiving gifts. It's not, first off, let me just say, it's not about materialism. It's not about that. And we're going to get back to that in just a moment. But I do want to say that even if that's not your love language, it's important that you try to speak that love language into the heart, even if it's difficult. I mean, I attempt to speak that into people's lives, but I don't always get it right. But I try. So even if it's not your love language, even if receiving gifts isn't your thing, it's important that when you recognize it's important to somebody else that you at least try. Even if you get it wrong. I remember the story of a woman who woke up 3 days before Christmas, and she went to her husband and said, you know, I had a dream last night. I had a dream that you gave me a pearl necklace for Christmas. She goes, what do you think that means? He said, you'll know in a couple days. And so they went on, and the next morning she woke up again. She said, you know, I had that dream again. I dreamed you gave me a pearl necklace for Christmas. She said, what do you think that means? He said, well, I guess you'll know tomorrow, won't you? And then she woke up the next day, Christmas morning. She said, you know, I had a dream again last night. I dreamed you gave me a pearl necklace. Now, what do you think that means? He goes, well, I guess you'll know tonight when we have dinner with your family. That's when we give you a gift. She was all excited, and they gathered with her family that night and exchanged gifts, and came his time to give her a gift. And he walked up to her, and he handed her a nice small box, and she carefully opened it, not to tear the paper, just creased the tape, and took it out of the box, and she opened it up, and what was in there? A book. A book. The title of the book was The Meaning of Dreams. Now, I don't know how he got it wrong. I don't know how he missed the clues, but somehow he missed it. Now, you know, sometimes we try and we miss, right? But yeah, that might not really go over too well, would it? But in all seriousness, the receiving of gifts isn't about materialism. Materialism is about getting things, collecting things, wanting to have things so I can show them off, so I can have more things. And the gift of receiving is more about the thoughtfulness behind it. People who have the gift of receiving it, to them it's important. What's important to them is that the gift shows love, and it shows that you put some thought into it, that you put some effort into it. It doesn't necessarily have to be an expensive thing. It can be an expensive thing if that's what you choose, but it's not about the price tag to them. Okay? It's about that whatever gift you give them shows that you know them. Okay? Shows that you understand them, that you care about them, that the gift that you give them is more important than whatever you had to sacrifice to get it. It lifts them up to a place that says, I'm important to you. I'm important enough to you that you took time to think about this for a minute. You didn't, because some gifts say that, don't they? Some gifts say, I thought about you, I know this is something you want, and I went out and I got it for you. And some gifts just say, I had a coupon from the Bed Bath & Beyond, and this is what I picked, And there's a difference there. They're both gifts, but they have different meaning, don't they? Don't they? When you receive that special gift, when you know somebody went out of their way to think of something, sometimes it takes months and months of planning to give you that gift, doesn't it? Aren't those the special gifts? Even if your gift, your love language isn't receiving gifts, those are special, aren't they? I brought in my mug, a couple months ago when I talked about the mug that my grandson had given me with his handprints on. That's special. That's priceless. It doesn't matter if it costs $5 or $500. That gift reminds me that I'm loved every morning when I get up to drink coffee. It's a special gift. And maybe you have some gifts like that you've received, and they're special, aren't they? And that's what the person whose love language is receiving gifts, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for something that requires thoughtfulness, that requires that you know them, that you care about them. The dollar tag is not that important. That's not to say if you drive up and you park a Lexus in your front yard and go give your wife the keys, that she's not going to appreciate it. But that's not what it's about. You say, well, I just can't do that. It's just too hard. Is it really that hard? If you love someone, to speak that language into their life. It just takes some thoughtfulness. It takes some time, some planning, some things you can do throughout the years. When you're walking around with your wife at Kohl's or Target or Walmart or wherever the Five and Dime, wherever it is you shop. And your wife says, I like that. K Jewelers, whatever. I like that. Make a note. One day I'd like to have that. Make a note, because how many of us have come up to, coming up on a birthday, and be like, I wish I could remember something to give her that she wants, something that's special, but then we can't remember, because you're like me, you have no memory. And you're like, I just wish I had written myself a note. Sometimes plan ahead, because see, when you give that gift, it means you planned ahead. How'd you know? Oh yeah, I remember. I told you I wanted that 6 months ago. Well, I changed my mind. I don't really want that anymore. That's a whole different sermon. That's a whole different sermon. And especially with kids, you got to be really careful with kids, because coming up on Christmas, my grandson will change what he wants between November 1st and Christmas Day. That will be changed no less than 10 times. But I got to have that or I'll die. That thing that means something special. But again, it's different when you're dealing with children. But when we're dealing with adults, we need to know that it's the thoughtfulness that means something. Some of the best gifts I got have been very inexpensive gifts, but they showed a lot of thought. They told me that person cared about me. And even though it's not my love language, it's nice to know that somebody cares, isn't it? Regardless of whatever your love language is. That person took time and thoughtfulness. It may not be the gift you wanted. You might have been wanting the Lexus. But if they show up with a gift that means something, that shows, I know you. Not only do I know you, I love the you I know. And I want you to have something that's meaningful. That every time you look at it, it's going to point you back to me and the thought that I care about you. And that I love you. You see, that's what the person who is looking to, whose love language is receiving gifts, that's what that's all about. It's making them feel important. Not necessarily monetarily, but with your thoughtfulness. You have thoughtfulness, right? You can think about somebody. If you really care about somebody, you can put some thought into the gift, can't you? Put some time. Put some planning. Put something into it that says, I care about you. Now, I want to clarify something. That mint wrapper that Pam was showing you, that was the mint after dinner. I had bought her dinner, and that was after. when I was paying, she wanted that York Minute Maid. It wasn't like the whole gift, okay? You didn't even know they had mints at McDonald's, did you? But they do, if you look close enough. But the truth of the matter is it's not always about the money, about the gift. It's about, showing that you care. And the thing that may be special to you may not be special to somebody else. And I've used this example before. I think those of you who watch Big Bang Theory, you're going to know what this is about. Big Bang Theory is about a bunch of nerds, brain guys. And there was one guy, Sheldon, and he's like super smart, but he's anti-Christmas. His mom was a Christian, but he's too smart to be a Christian. And he's all these things, and he's, according to him, and but he decides that he's the next door neighbor who's Penny tells him that she's bought him a gift, and he's like all exasperated because I don't want to buy gifts, I don't want to exchange gifts, and how do I even know what the right thing to get is? And so he thinks he solved his dilemma. He goes to I think it's a beauty product store, and they have gift baskets. And so what he does is he buys different size gift baskets, some small and some big, bigger and bigger and bigger, and he hides them all in his room, and he figures that what he's going to do is when Penny gives him the gift, that he'll know what size gift to give her, and he'll make an excuse, and he'll go back to his room, and he'll get the right basket, then he'll return the other baskets. And so the problem's solved. He'll know what. How many of you have done that before? Good. I'm glad, because that's kind of small. But anyway, but that's his plan. Now, what Penny ends up giving him is, he's a big Star Trek person, and she had met Leonard Nimoy, Spock, at the restaurant where she waitresses one night, and she had gotten his napkin and gotten him to sign it or whatever, and that's what she was going to give to him. Now that to me, I don't want that nasty napkin somebody else already used. I don't care if it's signed or not. But to Sheldon, that was the biggest, best gift anyone could give him, because in Sheldon's mind, he had Leonard Nimoy's DNA, and he was going to be able to clone him later on. That's how his mind worked. But to see the show, you would understand that he was so excited, he ran back in the room, and he grabs all the baskets, and he brings them out and gives her all the baskets, because that's how great a gift that soiled napkin was to him. Because it took some thought, right? The napkin took some thought and she had to plan ahead. Right? And it showed him that he was cared about, and that she cared enough to plan ahead a little bit and to put some effort into getting him this special thing for him. That's what we need to do for other people. We need to be thoughtful. Right? We need to plan ahead. It needs to be sacrificial at times, doesn't it? We talk love languages. We talk about God. And how do we speak to God? What's God's love language? Well, I think God's already spoke his love language into our life. He sent us something special, didn't he? Something that was thoughtful, something that was sacrificial, something that took effort. He sent his son, Jesus Christ, to come and die on a cross so that we may receive eternal life through him. He did that before you did anything for him. Before you knew him, you knew anything about him, he did that for you. Because he knew what you needed more than anything else was a Savior. It's the gift that offers eternal life. It's the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? And it's personal. But with all gifts, it has to be received, doesn't it? Without receiving it, it's absolutely useless. If you are a young man and you go out and you buy whatever they spend on diamond rings now, and you buy an expensive diamond ring, and you get down on your knees and you propose to someone, and you want to give her the symbol of your love, right? And you offer her you want to marry her. You say, you offer her the ring, right? That whole romantic scene of the young man on his knee, offer, and the girl says, no, thank you. To that young lady, that ring is worth how much? Nothing. That's exactly right. To those who don't receive it, the gift is worth nothing. Even though it may have cost that young man a tremendous amount of money. Even though he was giving her all that he had, it had to be received. I think I've told you before the story of George Wilson and James Porter, train robbers, robbed the U.S. mail, were caught and convicted on 6 charges and were sentenced to hang. This is on May 2nd. They were sentenced to hang 1830, I think. Sentenced to hang. Well, on July 2nd, James Porter was hung. But George Wilson was not. You see, he had influential friends, and they went to Andrew Jackson, and they got a reprieve. They got a pardon for him. He was pardoned from all his crimes. And they took it back to George Wilson. And George Wilson said, I want nothing to do with it. He said, I was convicted, I want to pay the penalty. That's crazy, isn't it? That's insane. Who would choose death over a pardon? But the reality is that it was confusing to everybody else. Because they couldn't figure it out either. So they took it back to court. As a matter of fact, it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said that a pardon that was not received was useless. That they couldn't force it upon somebody. Basically, I'm making this simple, but not using all legal jargon, but basically what they said was, it's an extension of grace, but they can't force somebody to receive it. And if they didn't receive it, it had no value, and the sentence was to be carried out. And they went back to George Wilson, and he was hung. Because he wouldn't receive it. Now that's crazy, isn't it? Who would receive that gift? Gift of life. So often we need to ask ourselves that, who would not receive Christ? Who would not receive God's gift of eternal life? It's the same thing. It's a pardon. Pardon from all your sin. But yet there are those who will turn their back and walk away, right? But what do we give back to God? Maybe that's the better question. What is your gift back to God? What are you speaking to God's life? What can you give God He doesn't already have? He already has everything, right? The planets are His. The solar system's His. Everything on the planet's His. You're His. Everything's His. What can you give Him? I mean, you think buying for your wife or husband or daughter is tough. I mean, what do you give God? He's already got everything. You give Him you. You give Him yourself. The best gift you can give God is a life of worship. And when you worship Him all the time. You worship Him in all you do. In all you say. In every footstep you take, every time you get an opportunity to help someone, say a kind word, you live a lifestyle that reflects your worship to a loving God. That reflects the lifestyle that Christ Himself was an example of meeting people where they are and lifting them up to a better place. Always leaving people in a better place than where you found them. You see, God finds pleasure in our worship, whether it's in song or in prayer or actions. You see, that's living a life that Jesus instructed us to live. Remember last week we talked about this. Loving the Lord your God with all that you are, right? Loving the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength. Everything you have, leave nothing on the table. When we worship God that way, it's pleasing to God. But the question is, are we doing that, or are we kind of saying, well, you know, I worship God with some of my heart, some of my mind, a little bit of my soul, maybe a little bit of my strength, but I got other things to do. That's just wrong. That's not what we're called to do. Let me ask you something. What if God loved your next door neighbor more than he loved you? He said, you know, I like you, Amy, but you know, I like the Arvins better. And, you know, I'm gonna bless them, and I'm sorry about you. You just have to deal on it your own. And how would that make you feel? It's not good, is it? Mm-mm. But that's not the way God operates. He loves you with all his heart. He loves the Arvins with all their heart. He loves each of you with all that he is. And he asks that back. He asks that in return. That we be all in. That we worship him with all that we are. You know, when we are thoughtful and we plan out and we give to people whose gifts are receiving, it's special to them. It means something to them. It says, you know, it says to them, this person must have really thought a lot of me to go to all this trouble, to plan this, to give me this, to give of themselves, to sacrifice, to honor me in this way. It makes them feel they're more important than whatever it is you had to give up to get to that point to give them this gift. It makes them feel loved. In the same manner, I wonder when God receives our worship, if he feels that way. If he says, wow, maybe Kenny actually gets it. The way he worships me all the time. The way I'm in his mind all the time. On his heart all the time. In his actions all the time. He must really think a lot of me. I like the way he honors me. It's pleasing to me. I wonder if God says that about us. You know, if he doesn't, why doesn't he? And what can we do to change? You know, that's what Lent's about, isn't it? Change. Finding those places that maybe we're not all in, and then being all in. Giving God all we got. It's a choice, isn't it? You can choose to do what you do, or you can choose love. My prayer for you is that you'll always choose love. Because not only is that pleasing to people who are seeking to receive gifts, it's pleasing to God. And all God's people said, amen.